It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Union University's assistant volleyball coach, Coach Kristen Blackhawk. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college?
So when I played Union or when I played volleyball at Union, we would always do summer camps, and the players would actually be part of the coaching staff that would coach like high school girls, middle school girls, or even younger. We call it Pee Wee camp. And so I got kind of exposed to the coaching. It's a very minuscule coaching position, obviously, but I just fell in love with it. And then my coach that I played under here at Union, Coach McClure, he kind of brought like kind of planted the seed of me being a graduate assistant for the volleyball team when I was a senior. So that kind of like got the wheels turning of like me wanting to coach, full time as like my career. While I was in college, I did not think that that was going to be my path of life. I studied athletic training here at Union. So that was kind of where I thought my life was going to go. But my junior year, I realized I didn't want to do that anymore and I wanted to pursue coaching. So that's kind of how I got into the coaching life.
Of course, what was that like as a player of Union playing collegiate volleyball?
It was tons of fun. I met my best friend through college volleyball, Abby Ran. And then, like it just, you're faced with a different type of adversity with missing class, having to go represent your university, different places, different states, that traveling. So it just threw a bunch of like different problems that you wouldn't normally see if you're a regular student. So that was something that I appreciated. It definitely helped me with time management. And then just, creating memories with your teammates. Like I have tons of memories that like I can look back on and reminisce, and also like life experiences that I can now give to my athletes that come and join our team and stuff. So
What was that experience like as a player getting to put on that uniform for Union and represent Union and wear that black and red?
it was an awesome feeling. Freshman year for me was a long time ago. So to kind of really think about what that feeling is like, it kind of like in the back of my mind. Um, but I mean, it's just an awesome feeling to represent something that's bigger than you, bigger than just like an awesome program that Coach McClure had built, and I got to be a part of. It was just an awesome experience.
During your time as a player, what were some of your biggest accomplishments on the volleyball side?
My freshman year, I was ranked, I think, first or second in ACEs in conference, which was a huge deal as a freshman, being ranked number one across, multiple girls who have played all 4 years, have tons of college experience under their belt. And for me as a freshman to get, number one or two in ACEs and kind of set that record was super awesome. So that was one for sure. And then another highlight was my senior year when I had an all-time ACE record that I broke for myself. So that was awesome.
What was that feeling like, obviously setting that record and then as your senior year, breaking your own record?
It was definitely awesome. I kind of didn't see it as a big deal at the time, just because I didn't like really think that way during that time, but I definitely do now. And that's something that I preach to the girls now of like their records, and like what our setter, she just I think she got 3,000 assists this year. So we made a big deal about what a huge accomplishment that was. So yeah.
Of course, how was that transition like from going from being a player to joining the coaching staff and getting a job as a grad assistant first?
Yeah. So kind of that transition. So I was a volunteer assistant for 2 years. And my first year, I very much was trying to distinguish what it means to be like not an athlete anymore and kind of more of a coach. Um, and it kind of helped because I wasn't working at Union yet. So I was actually um, running a high school team in Atwood, Tennessee, which is about 40 minutes away from Jackson. And I started a high school program. So I was coaching them and then also coaching Union as a volunteer. So it kind of helped that I just had that like physical separation. I wasn't around the girls all the time. So I could really like, I guess, separate myself as a player with them and be more so as a coach. I definitely pride myself on the relationships that I've built with the girls over the past 2 years. The senior class now that we have just graduated, those are the last girls that I've played with. So it's definitely easier now than it was then to separate that line of like friend and coach. But yeah, so it definitely was a challenge at first just because, they would still want to vent to me if they needed to, but I was like, hold on, I like, I have to tell the coach if like you're breaking a rule or something. So that was kind of an interesting time, but now it's a lot easier to distinguish that relationship from coach to player.
Of course, what was that like? Obviously, as you said, you were able to coach outside of Union at a local high school. What was that experience like for you?
It was a lot of learning for me. I was with a coach who was a baseball coach as well. So his main sport was baseball. It wasn't volleyball. Um, so I had to learn how to, kind of step into a bigger role than I was at Union, just because I was a volunteer assistant at Union and I was also a first year coach at Union. So I didn't really have much say in what went on, but at the high school team I did. Also at that time, I was still trying to find my coaching style and what I wanted to do, whether if, like I was a strict coach or if I was like a fun coach or if I was a fundamental coach or skills coach, so that kind of thing. But there was a lot of learning curves my first year at that high school. Definitely learned a lot. Learned how to distinguish again, like relationships from coach to player rather than like I'm your cool older friend. But yeah, so it was a lot of learning curves, but I enjoyed it. It was great.
How do you describe your coaching style?
Now I really depend on my relationships with the girls. I feel like if you have a good relationship off the court, you can pretty much tell them anything on the court, in any kind of way. I mean, obviously, like I still want to speak with respect, and I do, and I try to have a conversation with the girl about her play. But it really just goes back to the relationship that we have off the court. Because if I can't trust them off the court, I can't trust them on the court. And that's the same thing for the girls. If they can't trust me off the court, they can't trust me to coach them while they're on the court. So I definitely want to build that trust, and that's kind of where I'm at in terms of like my coaching style, just a lot of relationship building.
What was your experience like from going from being a grad assistant to getting that full-time assistant coaching job?
Yeah, so that's a little interesting. So Coach McClure resigned about mid-March of 2021, I believe. And actually no, 2022, sorry. And and then our previous assistant coach got pregnant with her second child. So she was also out. And she also resigned, and then she moved to Chattanooga. So I was on the coaching staff per se. And I actually was a graduate assistant for the athletic director. So I wasn't even volleyball's graduate assistant exclusively. Yeah, I was technically a volunteer assistant for the volleyball team for 2 years. But that was just, I got thrown into the fire because over the summer we had camps and we were still looking for a head coach, and I wasn't hired full time as the assistant yet. I wasn't actually hired as the full time assistant until July. So I had been running, the program as like summer camps and, any questions the girls had, trying to stay in loop with the head coaching process. So I got thrown into the fire, learned quick, definitely relied on like my husband. He's the women's assistant basketball coach here at Union, and his boss, Mark Campbell, relied on them a lot to help me through camp and like what I have to do, and still trying to stay NCAA eligible and that kind of thing. So try to follow all the rules while still, not being a full-time coach yet. So it was definitely an interesting time, but I wouldn't take it back.
Of course, what was that feeling like when you did become that full-time coach and that moment that it was like, okay, all my hard work paid off?
It definitely felt like a relief because I was kind of like, finally, just because it'd been a long time coming. Obviously, I wanted to coach in college, whether it was going to be at Union or not. It was still an aspiration of mine. I am super glad that it is at Union, just because it kind of makes the transition into marriage a little bit easier because we both work here now. Um, but and like I love this program, I love this school, I love the community that I have here, and so getting that coaching job here definitely felt like it was right and it was the right timing and stuff. Definitely spent a lot of time in prayer during that summer when everything was up in the air and it could change at a, you know, any second. So definitely a lot of time in prayer, a lot of talking to my good friend Angela Snyder. She's our team character coach. Um, but yeah, no, it was a huge relief, huge relief.
Of course, how did it help, obviously being an alumni of the school and also getting to join the coaching staff? How did that help?
It definitely helped the transition just because I didn't have to learn a whole new community. Like I already was super close with both basketball programs coaches. Obviously I knew the athletic director very well after working for him for a year. So I mean that just being able to just kind of glide right into this position was super easy, and I definitely did not take it for granted. Um, First year coaching is probably stressful at any, I mean, it was stressful for me. But knowing everyone around me and already having those relationships built definitely made it a lot easier.
What was that feeling like as a coach, getting to take the sidelines for the first time versus your time as a player taking the court for the first time?
Yeah. So this season we had two home preseason tournaments, and those were great. But I think the first time for me where I got kind of nervous or I was really like, okay, I am the assistant coach was our first home conference weekend, and that was against Lee and Shorter. And I was nervous. I didn't tell any of the girls that I was nervous because I obviously wanted them to play confident. And if their coach is nervous, and they're going to feel a little nervous. But yeah, no, I was nervous. Um, not only just because, you know, Lee and Shorter are good teams, but also it was my scouts. And so I was like, okay, this is like really on me. I gave the girls the game plan. Hopefully I know what I'm talking about. Here we go. So I was nervous, but it was awesome, especially after coming out that weekend with two wins. It was awesome.
Of course, what has the game day been like as a coach versus your time as a player?
Yeah. So as a player, game day was kind of just do whatever the coaches tell me, serve and pass, go eat, go to warm up, play your game. But now it's a lot more, I guess, obviously I had some mental preparation when I was a player, but as a coach, I feel like I have a little bit more just in terms of like what rotation we want to start in, matchups, who we want to start. Like, I mean, I think each game that we had a girl on our team would throw us a curveball and be like, hey, this hurts. I may not be able to play. So we were like, okay, here's a backup plan. How do we do this? So just kind of dealing with game day adversity that happened a lot. And then, you know, obviously scouting was a big thing for me and making sure that the girls understood the game plan and see if they had any questions and kind of give them their goals for each game day. Um, I had a meeting every game day with our senior middle, Sydney Haig, and we gave her individual goals about what we wanted her to do in each game because she's kind of a checklist person. So we gave her checklist, and so that was part of the game day ritual. But yeah, a lot more thinking and a lot more organized thinking as a coach now.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
So we play Shorter and Lee, like I previously mentioned, UAH, which is University of Alabama Huntsville, University of West Florida, Valdosta, Auburn Montgomery, Christian Brothers, which is right down the road in Memphis, and there may be a couple more that I'm. That's a good chunk of them.
Of course, what is that like and getting to play those teams like Shorter and Lee?
It's awesome. I love going to see other schools. I've been traveling to these schools now for I think 7 years, so it's getting pretty familiar, and I like it. It's also fun to see, you know, kind of building those relationships with other coaches. The assistant coach at UAH, Cecily Blanchard, I actually played with her. She played at Union, and then she went on to coach at UAH. So it's always fun to go to her school and kind of catch up with an old friend and an old teammate. But yeah, so it's awesome to play against other people, and I think that we have a very competitive conference. So every game is an intense game, which, is a blessing and a curse at the same time. But yeah, no, it's tons of fun.
Of course, being an alumni of the school, how has it helped you in your coaching and helping those young players know, obviously, what you went through as a player to know what they're going through now as a player?
Yeah, so it definitely gives them a little bit more perspective and kind of makes me a little bit more relatable to them. So whenever they come to me with an issue, I kind of use my time at Union and any like ups or downs that I had and try and give them, some good advice and have them learn from my mistakes if I made any, or learn from things that I was successful in and try and have help them through that. Um, and if like I haven't experienced what they're going through and they're still asking me for advice, just kind of go on of what I think that is best for the program and is best for them and what's in their best interest. So it definitely helps that I went to school here and played here, because it makes me a little bit more relatable to the girls, and it kind of gives them a little bit more trust in me because they know that I lived it too. So
What does the recruitment process look like for those high school athletes that are looking to play college volleyball?
yeah, so we do a lot of our recruiting through email. So a lot of girls email us. They send us their highlight films and stuff on Huddle, Field Level, Sports Recruit, I think is the other one. But so they send us emails and stuff, and we'll watch videos and whatnot. And then we also have a recruiting software that we have them fill out a questionnaire, which tells us, where they're from, links all of their social medias if they want to link it, their parents' info. It's just really a detailed questionnaire kind of about who they are, where they come from. So they'll also fill that out. It's on our webpage. And then we'll also call them here and there, just check in, really build that relationship. My husband likes to say, some coaches recruit, other coaches build relationships. And I'm definitely trying to be the coach that builds a relationship. I think it's better than just recruiting a kid, especially now with the transfer portal and NILs and stuff like that. Obviously, you don't see a lot of NIL stuff in D2, but definitely important to build that relationship with these girls, because relationships are harder to build than just, or harder to leave than just a commitment. So I think that's super important. That's what.
As a coach, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes when out on the road recruiting them?
Yeah, one second. Sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Mhm. Of course, as a coach, what is it like, obviously, going out on the road and looking at those student athletes, and what do you look at while recruiting them?
Yeah. So obviously we look for skill. If it is like an outside hitter or something, we look for someone who can make an immediate impact on the court and is kind of a go-getter and has that mentality. If it's a setter, we want to make sure that person can lead the team well, and just run an effective offense. And if it's Diaz, if they have good ball control and if they can give the setter a good first contact, even on hard driven balls and serve receive. Another thing we look at is huge is body language and how they interact with the team. I think a big thing about Union specifically is we pride ourselves on our culture. We've had 2 coaching changes within the past year, and no one has transferred or decommitted. And I think that says a lot to our team's culture. And our girls know that team culture is not something that's just said and like, yeah, we have great team culture. It's something that needs to be cultivated and maintained. So that's definitely something that I look for in a recruit, is how they interact with their team. Are they energetic? What do they do after the game? What do they do after a loss? Are they still interactive with their team, or do they go off hide in a corner? Like that kind of stuff. So definitely kind of the behind the scenes, how they interact with, their teammates and their coaches. So that's super important to me as well.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built from being a player to now as a coach?
Yeah. So one thing that I said to our girls during our end of the year meetings after this season was, again, that culture needs to be maintained. So we really strive for what we call intentional time. Sounds, but it definitely is super important. Girls can be a little in there, and so we believe that if you don't try and get to know each other off the court, you're not going to play well on the court. So our girls, we encourage them to find someone on the team that they wouldn't normally hang out. Like if they don't like, you don't have to be best friends, but get with a person different each week and go out to dinner, go get coffee, out, just have good quality time with someone on your team so you get to know them and kind of build that relationship. And then also we do a thing called Thoughtful Thursday, and you do a nice gesture for someone in the community. It could be on the team, it could be at Union, it could be someone in Kroger, anyone. Just do something nice for someone in the community. And then before practice on Thursdays, we will share what we did as a Thoughtful Thursday. It's just another way to, be a good person in your community and also help out your community and just do a nice gesture for someone that can make your day. So
What does the official visit look like for those prospective student athletes coming to Union?
yeah, so an visit for a student athlete will be, they'll come on the campus, probably around lunchtime, go to lunch with me and the head coach, and their student host. And then they will most likely go on a campus tour, kind of see what it's like with admissions. Then they'll hang out with the girls, go to dinner with the girls, come to practice, and they'll practice with us. If there's weights that day, they'll go to weights and watch weights, but they will watch. They'll meet with our strength coach. Then they will go to practice, and then they'll spend the night with the girls if they choose to. If not, we'll get them a hotel. And then the next day they'll go to breakfast with us and the coaches and their student host, and then meet with the professor, and then meet with us coaches and see if, have a little meeting with them, and then they'll be on their way. So it's a good time for them to meet the girls, play with the girls, kind of see how they fit in with the team and kind of see what our team is about in the culture. So
Of course, as an assistant coach and alumni of the school, what is it like obviously getting to see those freshmen get to put on that jersey for the first time versus putting it on for the last time as a senior?
yeah, so this year was fun during preseason. So the first practice that we had for preseason, we had the girls wear their jerseys and just play a game. And it was super fun to see the freshmen like kind of light up when they put that jersey on. It kind of was just like, oh my gosh, we're finally here. And then at the same time, to see the seniors that were graduating that year, kind of like it was a bittersweet moment for them because they were happy, but then they were also sad because they knew like this was the last time that they would be putting on their jersey for the first time that season. But I mean, the senior class has a lot to be proud of and a lot that they accomplished. So they definitely were bittersweet. So
What is that like, obviously, for you as a coach, seeing them put on that same jersey that you put on as a player?
um, it definitely is. It's neat to see just because, like I did wear that jersey and I did have tons of experience in them. And it also kind of reminds me of all of the like memories that I've had, all of the ups and downs that I have had wearing that jersey and being a part of this program. So it definitely kind of brings me back a little bit, humbles me a little bit, it kind of lets me know like, hey, you're not above them. Like you are still part of this team. Your position may be different, but you still have to treat them with respect and they still have to treat you with respect. So in a sense, I'm still wearing the jersey in my mind.
What are some of your future plans as a assistant coach moving forward?
Yeah. So I mean, as of right now, I'm kind of happy where I'm at. I've only been an assistant coach here at Union for 4 months, so I plan to be here for a little bit. If one day I can become head coach at Union, that would be awesome. That'd be kind of a dream. I love this program and I love this team and I love the community here at Union. But yeah, so right now I'm kind of just staying content where I'm at and not thinking too far into the future. My husband, like I said, he's the assistant women's basketball coach. So I also have his career to think about as well. So I think right now we're just staying put and enjoying our position. So
What is that like, obviously, as you said, but having both of y'all at Union where y'all are together and not so far apart?
yeah, it's awesome. He's only one office down. Like he shares this wall with me basically. Um, but I really don't see him during the workday, especially in months November through March, whenever he's in season. Um, he's so busy with his season, and then I'm busy recruiting and whatnot. Um, but yeah, no, I really nice because I get to walk down to his office, try to go to lunch, or hey, want to walk with me to over here because I need to pick something up. So it's nice. We get to have those little moments in the workday. And if I have a question that I just don't necessarily want to ask administration, I can go ask him and be like, hey, is this a stupid question? And he can oftentimes tell me yes or no or tell me how to do it. So it's nice to have a familiar face to ask those questions.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to play college volleyball?
Yeah, definitely find a team that you feel could be your home. Um, a big piece of advice that I would have is if you weren't playing volleyball at that school, would you still enjoy the school? That's something overlooked when trying to be recruited, because you want to play so bad, you want to play your sport at the college level, and that's totally fine. But you don't definitely have to think, I'm not going to be spending all of my time playing volleyball. I'm going to be spending a lot of my time in the classroom with the girls around me in the dorm room. Like you only spend, I want to say it's 4 hours max dedicated to volleyball, whether it's weights or volleyball itself. Um, and you also travel a lot. So just make sure that you like the people, you like the staff, you like the team, that you like the school, because volleyball is not your entire college experience. Um, all of those other things are your entire college experience. So just make sure that you like those things as well.
Of course, what advice would you give those freshmen that are coming in and playing in their first year of college volleyball?
Yeah. So a big thing that we see as college coaches is when freshmen come in, they kind of take a hit to their confidence because they were the big fish at their school. They were the superstar. Um, but when they get to college, everyone's a superstar. Everyone's super good. And then just the level of play is so much higher. So definitely kind of change that mental process and think like, okay, I need to work to earn my spot. I don't have a spot. I might have a spot on the team, but I don't have a spot on the court. So I need to work for that spot on the court. And definitely learn, if you're an outside, like learning how to score at that level. I mean, the same shots that worked in high school may not work in college. So just definitely trying to find that different type of play in college to be able to score and stuff. So it's definitely a different ball game when you head to college from high school, just because the level of play is so much higher, and as it should be. But yeah, just change that mindset of like, I still have to work for my spot on the court. Just because I was recruited doesn't mean I get the spot on the court. So
What advice would you give those college volleyball players that are looking to do something outside of after their 4 years, whether it's getting into coaching or going professionally?
yeah, definitely build a relationship with whoever you're trying to, you know, further that next step, whether it's coaching, whether it's playing professionally. Whoever you're, looking forward or looking to move on to, definitely build that relationship with that employer or that coach. Um, if you're looking into coaching, definitely go to coaching clinics. I went to a coaching clinic this past summer and I learned a lot. Playing volleyball is different from teaching volleyball. So definitely going to coaching clinics and kind of learning how to explain the movements and how to uh, different cues that work with different athletes. And I mean, you can show it all day long, but a lot of girls aren't visual learners. A lot of them are auditory. So, saying that stuff to them and getting them to think of it that way. So definitely go to coaching clinics if you're looking into coaching and stuff like that. So,
What advice would you give those future college coaches that are looking to get started as an assistant coach or even head coach?
put yourself out there. If you are able to, and like, let's say you don't get hired as a full-time assistant coach, if you're able to, you can swing it, be a volunteer. Um, that is something that I don't regret. I was able to, and work two jobs per se. But definitely do it, because experience is experience and it is not overlooked, even if it is as a volunteer or an official assistant. But if you do get the assistant position, definitely try and build relationships with the athletes on the team. Um, and as far as like getting an assistant position job, definitely just put your name out there, network, go to coaching clinics, meet tons of other coaches. Coaching is a big networking um, job, and so a lot of jobs go unnoticed unless you know someone. So definitely put your name out there.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to coach at their alma mater like you have?
Um, Stay as close as you can, express your interest as much as you can. Put in work when no one else is willing to. Um, if you have the opportunity to do, volleyball camps with them in the summer, or if you have the opportunity to just be like a manager, like just put yourself out there, like put yourself in the place to where you show that you're eager to, coach with that coaching staff, or, talk to the athletic director, express your interest, just make sure that your want and your eagerness for that position is known.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Union Volleyball Program at?
Yeah, so we are both on Instagram. My Instagram name is Kristen333, and then Union Volleyball is, give me 1 second. It is Youth Athletics VB, and that is our Instagram, which is run by our athletes.
Thank you again, Coach Kristen Blackburn, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the assistant coach at Union University for the volleyball program. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Kristen Blackburn, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.